1, 2, 3. For the hall.
For the hall.
Here we are.
Here we are. We're the Hall of
For
Heroes.
the hall. Once again, never our usual drinking.
I don't know. Cherry Pepsi is pretty much
You live on it.
my
so I
blood
guess
now.
That's fair.
It's either coffee or Cherry Pepsi.
That is valid. Yeah.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
Could be.
And neither am I by Monster, although I would gladly take one.
I think you are an energy drink. Like, at this
I
point,
mean,
your blood would just be energy drink if
I
you
mean,
tapped it.
after years of bartending, I feel like I got to a point where I was just fueled by caffeine and hatred.
I'd say most service workers probably are.
Indeed. So, what is on the agenda for today?
This
Episode 4.
This is podcast episode 4. Here we are.
Here we are. Such a weird intro that we have now.
Yeah.
Here we are, guys.
Here we are. We are wired. Yeah, I think this one we were gearing it more towards the experience you in particular have with D&D.
Oh, with all of the
Role-playing.
role-playing games.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess it's more of the tabletop role playing.
Well, gather around the table, young adventurers, for I will spin you a tale. No, but really it started.
Can you tell he's a DM?
Do I kind of give it away? You'd think that the writing and everything was a surefire telltale sign, but it's all right.
Yes.
Oh, geez. I started playing D&D back in, I think it was 2nd edition, which we're talking late 90s.
Yeah, because you explained it
Mid-late
to me
90s.
that I didn't know this, but so for anybody else out there that did know this, is that Dungeons and Dragons used to just be an actual, just like, board game, right?
Well, not really a board game. It's always
Like a
been
box
roughly the same setup. But the original D&D,
it was just a lot more simplistic.
it was just like pamphlets, not books.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was no maps, there was no miniatures. It was completely a theater of the mind.
Yeah. Is that what drew you to it?
Actually, it was a friend of mine in 7th or 8th grade, a friend of mine up in the Upper Peninsula when I was in school. He was just randomly one day, he's like, hey, do you want to play D&D? And I'm like, what the hell's D&D?
You're like, what's that?
I'm like, I don't know of this D&D you speak of. But he just threw together a character for me. I think I was playing, my first character was a elven fighter mage. Because sword and sorcery is an amazing combination if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
So we started that campaign. We played it for a while. We had a couple campaigns over the years. Basically just one-on-one, like one dungeon master, one player. Solo
did you start
campaigns.
as a dungeon master? Or did you
no,
just
I played
player?
it, yeah.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until after high school, because I took a few year break from it. I want to say like my junior and senior year in high school. And then I went to college and then I just got right back into it.
Yeah.
Because like right around that time, that was when 3rd edition came out. And I was like, okay, they got new books. I suppose I can check it out, see what's up.
Suppose I'll take a look at this.
And I became enthralled with the rules to the point where it's been well over a decade since I played D&D 3.5, so I probably definitely can't bust out the amount of knowledge that I had back then, but I could inform people what page in what book, whatever rule or item they were looking for.
Oh, so you were like a real life
like I
encyclopedia.
actually, yeah, I was a walking Dungeons
That's
and Dragons
awesome.
3rd edition encyclopedia. It was cool. That was when, my first campaign running 3rd edition was with my friend John up in Sault Ste. Marie. It was me, him, and our friend Billy. And it was just like this clearly overpowered campaign for the two of them.
Yeah.
So John was like, he's played D&D. He knew the rules. He jumped right into it. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Billy, that was like his first time ever playing.
Okay.
So we were like,
So like me.
Yeah, exactly. I've guided so many youngsters into this. He had no idea what he was doing, but we made him a character that he couldn't screw up. Like I think he was a fire Ganassi monk. Ganassi genocide.
What?
So, you know how like tieflings are humans descended from like devils or demons?
Yeah.
So, the Ganassi genocide, I've never heard it spoken out loud, so I've been calling them Ganassi this whole time. So, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. Yeah, so he played this monk. Well, okay, so a fire Ganassi is like a descendant of a human and some like fire plane being, whether it's like a genie or like a salamander, which you haven't seen like D&D salamanders. They're actually intimidating when you see what they look like. Oh yeah, I'm going to have to show you. So basically you're like a fire elemental tiefling, but instead of horns, you've got like reddish skin and you've got just markings that kind of indicate that you're fiery, like your hair actually looks like flames or whatnot.
Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty cool.
The more you know.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to have a permanent shooting star sign over the rest for the rest of these. But
So
anyway,
anyways.
so their campaign, like I came up with this whole like really cool story for them, and I was exclusively running all my campaigns in the Forgotten Realms.
Which is
I
where
am obsessed with the lore of the Forgotten Realms.
yeah.
To
That's where Baldur's Gate is.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate
for those
3.
that play
Yeah,
Baldur's Gate and are
Yeah.
big Baldur's Gate fans, that's the campaign setting that is
Correct.
from.
Yeah.
So you basically were running everything in that world.
Yeah. But, geez, the current timeline in the Forgotten Realms official canon storyline for the campaign setting is like 100 to 200 years ahead of the timeline that I was running my
Right.
campaign. Because I was doing my campaigns ranging from the time of Troubles up until just before the Spell Plague when Mystra was killed and blue fire washed across the landscape. And,
Right. You were telling me that lore of
Yeah.
the Forgotten
Yeah.
Realms because you were telling me all about because she's a goddess that's died like
She's
4 times.
Yeah,
you said.
she's got a really bad habit of not staying alive.
And
I guess if you're the
it
goddess
sounds
of
like
magic.
she does the messing around with the mortals that makes them go cuckoo.
Yeah, she's made questionable choices. It's a thing. But yeah, so my first campaign, because I'd read some of the novels and I just got really into the Forgotten
So did they
Realms.
start? The Forgotten Realms started as novels and then turned into a campaign
No,
setting?
it
or-
was originally a campaign setting that was created by Ed Greenwood. I highly advise everyone go and read his novels of Elminster. So he ended up making the Forgotten Realms, and its first version was a little different than what we know it as now. Because
Okay.
originally it was like, you're a person in the real world, and then all of a sudden you walk into this other world, and here you
Oh.
are in the Forgotten Realms.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong on that, please correct me. But to my knowledge, that's pretty accurate. So he wrote so much lore for the world. And then over time, like a bunch of authors got involved and they started expanding the lore for the world to the point now where one campaign setting book for the Forgotten Realms is not enough. You need to buy all of the different books from like 3.5. I want to say there was like 10, 15
Wow.
that I had at that point, just all the different supplemental rules for, let's say you're from this part of the world, or you want to play this particular class that is only from this kingdom because this kingdom studied this type of martial prowess mixed with magic.
Yeah.
So there's endless amounts of lore that you can tap into.
Yeah.
So I ran Forgotten Realms campaigns up until, I want to say it was like 2008 when I moved to Ann Arbor. And then that's when I just kind of started messing around with what the world that I've built into now. I haven't really come up with a good name for the world yet, just because there's a lot of things that are unexplored in this world that I'm still waiting to finalize in the novels that I'm writing.
Yeah.
Because it's just, there's so much going on
Yeah.
in so many different areas. For instance, like on our Thursday campaign, you guys are in this complete separate area of the world
Yeah.
and have no clue about this like undead invasion happening on this island continent way west of you.
And then we've even got our new campaign on Wednesday that's in a different time.
Yeah,
World.
our Wednesday campaign takes place in the 10-year gap in the storyline of Hall of Heroes.
Yeah.
Where you're playing yourself, Korppi, but like the younger version of yourself from obviously 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's
which is kind of a fun dynamic as like a character play, if I'm honest. Like you
Yeah.
get to play like a younger version versus an older version of
because
yourself.
you're
like,
used to playing, or at least reading about your character in the current timeline.
Yeah.
Where she's a mother,
by the
she's
way,
a wife.
don't tell the author that the characters need to be a little more rough and tough, because then he will backhand your character.
You did go flying into a wall.
Yeah,
And
you made that monster backhand me.
you asked for it. He said I was going too nice on everybody in the storyline. All the characters are taking it way too easily. I'm the only one getting my ass kicked constantly.
Yeah. So you're like, fine.
Cool. Off with you. Wherever she falls, we will bury her there.
It's fun though. But going back, so
I started working on like the ins and outs for the lore of the campaign.
Yeah.
So going back to just the fundamental forces of good versus evil, I'd been playing around with like different gods that exist, and there's very few of them.
Yeah.
And then this ancient primordial evil, just destruction embodied in a physical form.
Yeah.
And so I named it Averix. Now, everyone watching this video that's played in my campaigns in the past, you're probably face palming and you're like, oh God, no, not Averix again. Because
I hate to break it to you, but he's a big part of the novel.
Yeah. So that was my basis for my campaign setting. Is I started with, what is the dynamic of good versus evil?
Yeah.
And only once I had that sorted out and I knew that the story I wanted to create was one of like just dynamic, but also disembodied forces in the world.
Yeah.
Just completely simple. There's creation and there is destruction.
Yep.
Which in and of themselves are neither good nor evil.
They just exist.
They just exist. They're part of the natural balance of existence.
The yin yang.
And from there, I expanded on it and was pursuing different areas where I thought, okay, creation creates. So it created these different pantheons of gods over time.
Yeah.
Who then started creating mortals, which is where all of the player character races came in. So once I had the idea of these gods that had created the mortal races and had their domains over various aspects of life and reality, then I looked at the opposing force, Averix, which didn't have a name yet. I thought, okay, this is just the abstract of destruction. Like it didn't necessarily have consciousness. It was just there. It existed.
Yeah.
But it developed jealousy because creation could create gods, which could create mortals, worlds, planes of existence, you name it. But destruction could only destroy. So it took on this kind of, not necessarily a physical form, but it took on a godly form.
Yeah.
And it left its position in the hierarchy of reality just so that it could pursue and consume everything that creation had made. So from there, I worked my way back a little further and decided, okay, here's this world. There was a major event thousands of years prior to the current timeline where there was a God's War. All of the deities rallied together with their mortal followers and different beings from other planes of existence to face off against Averix.
Yeah.
And a lot of them didn't make it.
Yeah.
In fact, it got down to the point where currently there are only 2 gods left in the known world. And that's Urian, the god of like light and just goodness and virtue. And then there's Drakion.
The dragon.
The dragon, but more like natural balance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
I just know in the story he's
yeah, he takes
he's
the
referred-
form.
he
He
takes
does
form.
take the form of a dragon.
Mhm. So for those of you who are interested in the backstory of the God's War that you were just talking about, that is actually already available on our website. You can read the first, 7 seasons?
It will be 7 seasons. Currently, we are on the 6th season that we just released the final chapters of it today.
So that is Season of the Pack. It's the last season that's out right now. So on our website, you can actually read the story. We are releasing audiobook versions of the storyline.
Yeah, for each season it's basically like a short story. And as each season comes out, we're going to definitely have it out on audiobook because I know us and a lot of our friends, we definitely prefer reading or listening to it over reading it.
I've really enjoyed it because the voice that we have that's doing it, and we put a little bit of music onto it. So it's a really nice way to listen to the storyline if you don't have the ability to sit down and take time to just read, or you just prefer an audiobook kind of thing. So those are coming every single week. We should, by the end of this week, have 3 seasons out. Oh, actually 4 seasons now out total.
Season of the Sorceress will be out on Sunday.
Perfect.
And that will actually complete the first year of storyline that I wrote. For the first year, we were doing Hall of Heroes, actually.
So going back to that, when you started the story, you had mentioned in the first episode that you had started your own because you were tired of rules lawyers and whatnot.
Well, that, and I mean, it's like I was telling you in our other conversation the other day, it's just I got to a point where I felt like everything I could possibly do in the Forgotten Realms
was done.
I had already done it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Because I'd done about 10 years of campaigns in that.
So by the time that you started your own story, you'd already been a DM for 10 years. Wow. Yeah, that's a long time to do campaign settings in that too.
Let's not even discuss it. There's been so many more years ever since.
Well, I'm sure you have lots of stories, funny stories.
Sure. Oh, I've definitely.
If you're interested, we can make that a whole episode.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get the interest, so let us know.
Just know there will be talk of such things along the lines of, hey, DJ, give me something to vibe to. You know who you are, Radio.
Oh, you mean Radio, the one who lit himself on fire after I'm trying to not traumatize the villagers?
Part in our current Thursday campaign.
Radio.
Yeah.
I try to roll a bluff.
But I'm telling you, what happened the other week does not compete with that. But
that was a pretty chaotic.
We'll touch on that some other time. But yeah, so I started working on the campaign setting, and right when I started doing the weekly social media posts to promote Hall of Heroes, because I thought to myself, hey, no, that was actually...
Oh, that was before that.
Yeah, when I first started writing it, when I was doing Season of the Assassin, which is no longer up because it was just shameless bar promotion and had no real plot to it. It was just chaos incarnate.
Yeah, it might be something we can include if we ever put together a Patreon.
Maybe. Just some deep dive lore.
Extra deep dive lore.
Yeah, that's a possibility. So when I was doing Season of the Hunter, into Season of the Raider, into Season of the Wayfinder, and then Season of the Sorceress.
Which is Season 1, 2, 3, and 4,
correct,
by the way.
Those were essentially standalone short stories that told a greater narrative over time.
Yeah, and they were catered to specific people. That's another piece.
Yeah, each season was about one of our Hall of Heroes crew.
Yeah.
And it was a storyline about everything involving their individual character. So Season of the Hunter is about Köykkä and like his origins. And then we move into Season of the Raider, which is about Seamus. And
Seamus gets lost a lot. And
he
that's
really does.
true in real life, too.
Yep. Which I think we've already talked about that in a past episode. But yeah, Seamus seems to acquire the sleepy condition more often than not. And then from there, we did Season of the Wayfinder, which was about Reuben.
Yep, which Reuben will be coming on the podcast.
Elrandor.
Yep, Elrandor's coming to visit, so be on the lookout.
And then after that, we did Season of the Sorceress, which I had so many different people that I was trying to write that about. And it all just fizzled into this like fictional character that didn't make sense in the moment until afterwards. And then finally I decided, okay, I think I know where this is going.
I've watched that too. What's funny is was like when you and I first met, I feel like you were still, I don't know what to do with that character. And then you're like, as you've evolved the story, you evolved that person and character.
Because that's the thing, is just like with any friend group, some people come, some people go. And you might have an idea that, oh, this person fits this character. But then next thing you know, what you want to write in the storyline doesn't fit that person as a character.
Yeah. I think that's what's cool about the way that you write, though, is because that character was now multi-dimensional because of the way that it was written.
Yeah.
She had the two sides, which is, it's a cool dynamic. And like I said, it's again, one of my favorite parts about reading your writing is the way that you take real life and you twist it, like even Köykkä.
Yeah.
Köykkä and the whole, he's from the north, like from a cold, distant land.
Yeah, that's me being from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where it is a cold, frozen northern land. And
But people might not necessarily know that, but it's a way that you twist the story to make it.
He spirited Seamus south on the land bridge.
Oh my God, I never connected that.
Yep. You never connected the Mackinac Bridge to the land bridge? Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, this could go on for hours on all of the like deep cuts in the storyline that most people wouldn't quite catch.
Yeah. When we go over some of that in the recap videos, like we go over a lot more in depth in the recap videos of exactly what piece is about what. So,
well, and that's honestly the fun part about it is when we started doing the recap videos, it made me realize, okay, there's a lot in the storyline that I didn't necessarily explain properly in the seasonal writing.
Yeah.
Because if I'm being perfectly honest, each chapter for each of the first 4 seasons, I was writing at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday night after setting up my bar.
Yeah, they were more like social posts to call in people for
well,
the
not
campaign,
just that. No, not the campaign. That was just for the hall. There was no...
Oh, the hall nights. Yeah.
But
the tavern nights.
But I'd been writing it out 4 or 5 paragraphs at a time on the Instagram account in the moment as I'm opening the bar, getting ready to have a Hall of Heroes night. So it was...
Well, that sounds really procrastinating, but I've also watched you write, and that's when you write the best. So I feel like
I need to be inspired in the moment. It was weird because a lot of those early seasons when I was writing like that, I would go into work and I'd just be sitting there after getting the whole bar rail set, getting my ice bins full, make sure my beer cooler's stocked. And it would just hit me. I'd be like, okay, this is the tone of the night. This is the story for tonight.
Nice.
And it was funny because when I first started doing this, like a lot of my friends were like, wow, you are like, we know you're a dungeon master, but you're literally DMing all of Ann Arbor.
Yeah,
and that's what it felt like.
That's what you were doing and it's cool once they all come together, because when we then first met, we took all of those posts. I say he went through and took all of those posts and put it into Word documents and everything so we could put it up on the website and then now make the audiobooks. And for writing them each week, it doesn't read that way necessarily, which is, I think, a feat in and of itself as a writer.
And that's where I got to the point when we started into Season of the Raven after I met you, is I had technically started writing Season of the Raven before you.
I know, which is kind of creepy because of what you wrote, but
yeah, a lot of the storyline is, and that's something I said in the storyline recap, is it feels oddly prophetic.
Yeah.
Because even in Season of the Sorceress, the way that ends with the destruction of Hall of Heroes, the tavern being destroyed, I wrote that before we were no longer able to have our hall nights at that venue. I want to say legitimately 3 days afterwards, I got a call that the partners were leaving and everything was just falling apart with...
Everything was done with that venue.
Yeah.
You were just... They were like, the partners are done, so we're no longer continuing with these nights that you were doing.
Yep.
And whatnot. And it was right after you'd written
right after
that.
I wrote it on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I wrote that as the post before our Dungeons versus Dapper New Year's Eve party that night.
Yeah.
And it was crazy looking back at it. I'm like, wow. Huh.
And it's not the only time you've done that, though, because in the first or second season, you wrote about your character dying, essentially. Spoilers, sorry. And then coming back and like hearing this voice. Which then turns into
a whole other added layer when Season of the Raven hits out. And that was the weirdest part, is I wrote it at the time and I was like, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know what part of the story this actually fits.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm just writing this.
And honestly, I can't wait for our episode with Ruben, because the look on his face when he came in that night and walked in, he goes, dude, you killed your character? And I'm like, you can't be afraid to kill a character in a story.
Yeah.
And he's, dude, you have to come back. I'm like, don't worry, I've got a plan.
So we should probably reel back just a little bit for a second again. So you started writing these at a different place. And it was just essentially these weekly social posts to bring people in. Were you playing D&D at the time, every time?
No, so all of the writing was completely separate. That was just for me to write a story about me and my friends in a fantasy world that we had put together for Hall of Heroes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Season of the Raider that I finally came to the realization, honestly, that this is happening in my campaign setting.
Yeah.
And I know exactly where it's happening because I've run campaigns in this particular kingdom. In the storyline, yes, my campaign setting. But no, like I'd done 3 different campaigns in this kingdom prior to writing the storyline. And it wasn't until I introduced Seamus into this story and then started realizing, okay, my character, Köykkä, is a hunter from these northern lands where these barbarians are, where all of this nightmare is happening in my other campaign. So why am I not making this a storyline for my campaign setting?
So you started there. You were writing the story.
Yep. Hit Season of the Raider. Finally came to the conclusion, okay, this is happening in Kirdana, and we're going to play this out from there. And with every additional season building on top of it, I slowly started peeling away and showing the real underbelly of this campaign setting that I was using. And it was really interesting to just see how, in a narrative sense, it actually fit into just everything we'd done in about 10 years worth of campaigns.
Yeah.
Because we'd played this out specifically with Hamad. Oh, wow. 3 different versions of watching a citadel collapse, watching Flint Badaxe destroy an elven village on accident, and I say accident in quotes.
Because that was a person, right? Like Flint Badaxe was played by a person at one point. No longer, but at one point. Yeah. So that was a role, I'm assuming.
No, that was actually a choice.
That they made?
The worst part is, okay, so it was a roll, but the problem is he rolled too good. He caused a bit of an explosion by landing a critical hit on a spot that should not have been hit with a critical, and created a chain of events that
Oh boy.
that later on essentially damned him as a character,
Yeah.
which, stay tuned for the next season.
Ding dun dun. Which the first couple chapters should be coming out next week on the website to read.
Yep.
Like I said, I'll recap.
There's a lot of catch up we have to do for the audiobook, because we still got to get through Season of the Sorceress this Sunday.
Yep.
Season of the Raven, which is going to be a 2-part release. And then Season of the Pack, which is so
Season
long.
of the Pack is a 5-week release because of how long it is. But that's because your writing shifted from there. You were doing these, and then when we met, it was after the fall of the Hall, which is, like you said, it was funny that you wrote it into the story
before it actually ended up happening, which is wild.
So you wrote it in the story, and it happened in real life. And then we met, and we've talked about this in the first episode, but we met then that last year, which was probably one of the worst.
6 months after.
Professionally.
Yeah.
We literally met each other at the worst time professionally ever. And I was like, I loved all the story that you had put together, because I'm partially a writer myself, an artistic.
And really, you did push me a little. You're like, you need to get back to writing the Hall storyline, because we're going to bring the Hall of Heroes back.
Well, selfishly, I want more. I was like, I want more story. I'm like, and you also, like, when we first got together, you used to write me all of these paragraphs of stuff. So I knew you were a good writer.
The midnight novels for you to wake up to.
Wake up to these, like, paragraphs that I just scroll through of you talking about us and how we met and all this stuff. And so I was like, no, I want you to write more. And you did, and then now it's
a chronic problem, and
now it's like
can't
this at 4:00 in the morning. Hey, I wrote more. Can you read it?
Guilty, very guilty. I cannot argue these allegations.
But it's good writing. That's why I'm really excited, because I just read the end of the novel and a little bit of what you've gotten for the beginning of the second novel, and I'm really excited because this storyline, like I said, your writing has just evolved so much more. Like, not that it was bad in the beginning. It wasn't bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just you could tell
it was
writing
rushed. It was definitely rushed, and I couldn't really sit down and just put a coherent thought out in the moment. I did. There's clearly plot, but it's just kind of loosely patched together.
It's more detailed in the novels, and even in the later seasons. Like Season of the Raven, you can see it starting, but it's really in Season of the Pack, and then Season of the Awakening is the one that's coming out next week, that you can really tell you shifted more into a true author style writing rather than these one-shot paragraphs that you're trying to, like.
And realistically, just even looking at the quantity of writing for each season, it's just been such an escalation. Season of the Pack is, I think on my Word document for it, it's 60, 70 pages, something like that.
Yeah.
And then Season of the Awakening is almost double, if not actually double that.
And then the novel is obviously way bigger than that.
No, even I will not spoil the name of the season after Season of the Awakening. It sets the stage for where Köykkä and his friends happen to find themselves in this horrific scenario.
That's the other thing that I like about getting to Season of the Pack and Season of the Awakening is there's a lot more characters.
Our crew has expanded.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. Realistically, obviously in Season of the Hunter, it's just you, and then Seamus is introduced in the second one, and so then there's the two of you.
Technically, Seamus is introduced in Season of the Hunter.
Yeah.
He's mostly asleep or drunk.
Shocker.
But then, like leading into Season of the Raider, that's when he really takes the center stage. And again, in the novel, we revisit that whole character.
Yeah.
Like we come full circle to everything that happened the night that Seamus, Köykkä, and Korppi were separated from their people.
And that's revisited a few times. And that's what's cool about the campaign that we're doing right now on Wednesdays, is that we're doing the 10-year
the 10-year gap.
Yep. And I'm getting to play my character, only her 10 years younger. For me, that's just cool because it's interesting how you play things sometimes, because in real life, it's almost kind of me being able to reflect back on some of my past me things and almost like, I don't want to, I don't know how to even word it. It's being able to reclaim, which is our thing. We just reclaim everything.
Yeah.
That's what we've always done.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about that. For me, at least. It's really fun. Even though I may have grossed out. Both of the characters the NPCs that I'm with are not they're like, Korppi's a psycho.
Yeah, she's definitely, she's made some choices that everybody's wondering, oh, she's a murder hobo.
I wasn't trying to be. I just wanted to get information.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I accidentally killed the guy.
Yeah. Yep.
That's my favorite. Is I've gotten that so many times. And what was it on the Thursday campaign with the fire dwarf that I was talking about?
No, you got this on the Thursday campaign.
I was like,
yeah.
He literally did that, and we're done for the night. We're done. Yeah. Like everything is gone.
I need at least a week to process what it is you all tried to accomplish that night and failed miserably to do.
Well, the hard part is everything happened within 30 seconds. And then you explained it all, what happened. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what happens when you have a lot of moving parts with different characters doing different things in a simultaneous order that lead to absolute chaos.
Pure chaos.
Which is fun for me, but I need a breather after. So
the storyline's been what?
Kind of a way for me to propel like my campaign setting, because it kind of goes back and forth. Because a lot of the new characters, they've been introduced into different campaigns that I've done more recently. So I get to utilize these different elements in the writing, but then also at the same time, I get to take different things from the storyline and bring it into the campaign. And it's just become this perfect fluid motion.
This like figure 8 that just flows into each other.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It is cool just to see it from a third-ish party perspective. A party.
Yeah.
I'm usually playing, but.
Yeah. But yeah, it's honestly helped me at least further the storyline as well.
Yeah.
Because even when we do our random one-shot nights for the Hall of Heroes, there's different elements from those nights that I've stopped and been like, okay, I can use this for the story for these chapters that I'm working on, or even take elements from the story and use them for the lore of our Assassin's Guild, or even beyond that, for the murder mystery events.
Yeah.
Being able to bring in the whole part for our April murder mystery that we have coming up is going to take place during the events of Season of the Raider, where Köykkä dies.
Yeah, because that's the other funny part is the first murder mystery event that we did was the Guild Murder Mystery Party back in October. You based that in the hall, and it was the members that came to it had to report to Köykkä.
Yep.
And help us solve these mysteries of these 3 murdered guild members.
Yep.
And we thank you to all the guild members who volunteered to leave dead bodies.
Yep.
You guys did amazing.
Oh, that was such a hard night decorpsing the place.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but everybody did so good. Like we had Belladonna that did what was she had a poison vial.
Yeah.
And what was funny is it was one of those little $5 poison vials that I'd gotten from the $5
like Spirit
Target
Halloween or something.
No, it was Target. It was like those front little cheap bins that you get it from. I had randomly gotten it for Halloween a couple months prior or something like that, when Halloween stuff first came out. And when you were asking me for something, I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Yep.
And I forget what she said. It's because her name's Belladonna.
Which is poison.
Poison. But then the poison bottle itself went with it. And I'm trying to remember what it
Oh, I don't even remember. It's been a while since I've even seen that.
Yeah, I'll have to. The video of that night is on our YouTube, on our shorts, and she's on there. It was just funny how that correlated together, but she did wonderful because she literally sat there like this, like just still as a dead
still,
body,
and just kind of head bowed down.
and she didn't move until somebody touched her head, and then she like, and it was just like, I was like, bravo, oh, look at you.
Yep.
And everybody else did amazing too. I'm not saying they didn't, because we had Veronica, who was she the first dead body outside?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
She was the first dead body that everybody had to go find out in the beer garden, which was cool.
Then
Belladonna.
And Jose.
Yeah, and then Jose, which is in the video a lot, because unfortunately I didn't get out there quick enough to get a video of Veronica and hers.
Yeah.
But I did get one of Jose, and that video is hilarious because he was just so good about just like laying there dead the whole time and everything. And it's really cool because for each of our events, not only are you catering it to the stories, you're like hand making clues and all of these different things. So I'm really excited about the April event because it's going to be really fun with what you've put together.
Yeah, and it's great because it gives people a chance to actually live out part of the storyline that I've written. And that's, for me, that's awesome.
Yeah, because the new one, because then we also did, in February, we did another murder mystery event.
Yep, Thief of Hearts,
which was like a Valentine's themed event.
Valentine's with a vengeance.
Yeah, because one of our friends is going through a hard time in that department. So we wanted to make her feel special. Shout out Pixie. And Pixie, who plays Amada, who is a pirate, was scorned, and we had to help her find the person who had stolen her lover, kind of thing. So it's a cool twist on the storyline because it was the people who had bought tickets were mercenaries who were coming to help the hall.
Yep, find this betrayer.
Yeah,
and it was great for me because it was our first event that I didn't have to actually act all on the whole storyline and progressing things, because the whole point of that game was you got to convince Köykkä that this is worth his time. You've got to give me clues. I'm not going to pull out a dagger for anything if it doesn't have any facts involved.
Yeah. And I played the full NPC mode. Everybody was angry at me because they kept coming up and they're like, can I ask you questions? And I would just repeat the same 3 things back to them. I had 2 different people tell me, they're like, you're annoying, and left. I just was like, I'm going to be that NPC.
That's great.
I'm not giving you any information.
I was only programmed with 3 dialogue lines. I cannot go beyond these barriers.
I love that. That's especially for the murder mysteries. I know this next one's not going to be like that. I'm going to be a lot more involved in this one.
Yeah, that one's going to have a lot for you particularly to have to deal with. But yeah.
But I like what you're doing with it because it's cool where you placed it in a really cool part of the storyline. The people who are going to be able to go to this, because it isn't, it's only going to have a limited number of tickets.
Yeah.
One, the venue's super cute little like tavern style, so it's perfect for the hall. And then 2, the little murder mystery is just a little spoiler, is the ghost of Köykkä, which is set in season 2, right?
Yep, Season of the Raider.
Season 2. So in season 2, like I said, spoiler, Köykkä, nice. And then the ghost of Köykkä is coming back to this bar, and you have to help figure out something about his death. I'm not going to give you any more than that.
What's funny is there's just a small gap in the Hall of Heroes storyline for Season of the Raider between where he dies and where he wakes up.
So there is technically a space for this to happen. So everything
in this event is technically going to become canon to the storyline at that point, and I'm going to write out the events of how this plays out in that missing piece.
Perfect. So if you want to be a part of the whole story, be on the lookout.
April 19th.
April 19th. We don't have anything up for tickets yet, but we will, so keep an eye out.
Yep.
That's why you should like and subscribe.
So, you know me, I love my shameless plugs when I can get them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's honestly one of the better parts of all this is
That's what makes it work.
I have way too much free time. And
No,
my
that's free time.
brain doesn't
You are
shut
just good at
off.
writing. You're a good writer. And that's the thing is you
Oh.
know how to take different pieces. I wouldn't have thought of that. The April murder mystery event, that's specifically why I said I'm not allowed to come up with these themes anymore. But it's because you're good at that. I'm pumped for the April event because of where you're putting the storyline. And I hope there's others that are really excited to come and be a part of it too, because it's going to be really fun.
I'm going to have a blast with
And
it.
it's not just Köykkä and Korppi that are going to be there, is that there's other members of the storyline that are also going to be there. Alrendor will be there.
Also, it's going to be great because I'm coming out of bartending retirement for one night only.
For one
to
night
actually
only.
bartend this murder mystery.
You get Ghost
as
Köykkä.
the ghost of Köykkä. It'll be a lot of fun.
And it's going to be a dinner party, too. That's the cool part. I'm really excited about that. It's going to be like this whole fun dinner murder mystery set in the whole storyline. Well, I don't want to give any more away, but it's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited about it.
It's going to fill in a lot of blanks for some future parts of the story that's already been written out that we're waiting to release.
And it's another way for you to roleplay in any kind of characters, because the people can dress up too. So like when you're coming to our events,
highly
please dress
suggested
up.
That.
And yeah, bring your character to life at our events. I think that's one of the things we're encouraging the most, and what we love to see the most is we love to see the different characters that people bring or come up with.
Yep. Or just play in our random tabletop role-playing nights. Because there's...
What is it, Chris? What is his tag on TikTok? Just an NPC? He comments on a lot of our videos. So shout out Chris, because he's been reposting a bunch of our videos. He's been helping us out a bunch. He's been coming to our D&D nights.
Yep.
We love you.
Exactly.
But he's been one that's brought several of his characters to life, to the hall. So I think that's really fun, because the encouragement of creativity in role-playing games is, I think, one of the bigger draws to it.
Yep. It's a crazy world we live in. Crazy times. It's our escape.
Yeah. And it's not bad to want to escape for a little bit into something fun.
Yep. And it is an honor to provide that whenever and however often I can.
And that's why I think it's so awesome, because if you weren't a good writer, you wouldn't be able to make it so much fun. You have to be able to put that twist on it. Otherwise, it's just the same. Like, you'd be copying, pasting from others. That's what I personally like, is the uniqueness.
And it's got to be fun. That's the whole point, is you can't have a storyline be too serious without some comedic relief thrown in there. And it just so happens that I ooze comedy.
I think that's one of the reasons why, not to like, I'm totally veering off into a different subject, but that's part of why like shows like Supernatural are so popular, is because they do throw the comedic relief in there, in my opinion. It's a very serious show, but there are some extremely funny parts of that show.
Yep. I feel like anything worth its weight is going to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as it's tastefully comedic and not in your face every 5 minutes, forced jokes.
Yeah, there is that.
Although I have run some games where that has happened, and it definitely went off the rails, but in the most hilarious way possible.
Yeah.
For instance, our Thursday campaign.
There's been, like, I'm like, what has even all happened in that campaign? We made Laverne was a god, where my sword was her beatbox unit.
Beatbox entrance music. Oh my God.
And I quite literally had to listen to sheet metal dubstep music for 4 hours straight while going like this.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was the one making the noise. So I just had to sit here, because we were trying to convince a group of 400 inbred mountain men to come with us. The story just gets weirder. Because at one point then we found something.
Oh, yeah, the bandit tribe.
But the leader, which was this creepy, weird
thing that exists.
Oozy thing. And somebody killed it.
You did. You cut his head off.
Somebody killed it.
Somebody killed it. Yeah, you murder hobo. You're like,
that was me again.
You're like, why are they talking? I don't like this. Off with your head.
I was new to D&D, okay?
Yeah. We'll go with that. But yeah, that's the fun of it for me, is there's always a chaotic element in my games. Currently, you are it.
Listen, again, my whole thing is if we have sat there for too long, which for me, like 30 seconds, too long, we got to make a decision. Come on. I don't want to just sit there. So yeah, I will add the chaotic element. And that's exactly what happened. Okay, I'm just going to explain the story. All right. Because this can't not be on this episode.
All right,
it's
go
too
ahead.
good. So we get to this village. There's villagers all I know, right? I know nothing. The other people in the group have been to this village before.
Oh yeah, they solved like a whole bunch of supernatural murders that were taking place.
Yeah.
They thought they solved it. Turns out, not
They
so
didn't.
much.
So we get to this village. All of the villagers are in the church, right?
Yep.
It's the church.
Yep, they're in
Doors
the
are locked.
Temple of the Four.
We can't get in. So we're all standing there trying to figure out how we get them out. Because that was the only goal we were given, was just get them out.
Was what?
Or maybe that's what we decided.
The technical with Hamat's character, who's the leader of these lands.
Yeah.
The last surviving nobility. He was like, we got to get all of these people out of there and get them back to the capital so I can keep them safe.
Yeah. So we're trying to get them out.
Oh, no.
Okay, mind you, all of this happened in 30 seconds. So I look down because there's so much happening. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try something. So I have a really high bluff score. So I was like, I'm going to bluff. And I asked him, because again, I'm new. So I was like, can I bluff and tell them a lie? He's okay. What are you going to tell them? I'm not a good liar. We're just going to preface this. I'm not a good liar.
Least of all when you have no context for the situation you're in.
And put on the spot. I was just like, I don't know. There's a demon fairy outside.
Yep, a demon fairy.
Demon fire fairy, I think I even said. There's a demon fire fairy out here. You need to come out. Or I don't know. But I was like more concerned with, I'm like, I have a high bluff. They're going to believe me no matter what. So they'll come out.
Yeah.
Problem is, they did believe me. Partially because at the exact same time, decided he was going to light himself on fire. I had no idea this was happening.
So here you
so
are.
All they hear
you're
is there's
yelling,
a demon fire
you're yelling
fairy
from one side of the temple, yelling into a window that's been boarded up. Everybody get outside. There's a demon fire fairy out here. It's like we got to get you to safety. They look outside from the main door and a dwarf lights himself on fire.
So then, again, no context, nothing going on in here. Radio tells me to fix it. I was like, okay, I can shapeshift into something. What should I shapeshift into? He was like, shapeshift into this fisherman guy and gives me the details. And I was like, all the details except for the fact that he died 3 weeks ago. So I then, after telling them there's a demon fire fairy outside and the dwarf lights himself on fire, I immediately turn into their beloved dead fisherman, which I had to make the joke. Nice day for fishing, ain't it?
Of course you did. So, yeah, of course you did.
And so now these people are just absolutely terrified. They're not opening the door at all. And he just goes, we're done for the night. We're so done.
It was probably only 15 minutes of absolute chaos. And I couldn't recover from it. I just sat there looking at all of you like, what is wrong?
Doing for people.
You're trying to save these villagers. And basically they were all like carpenters that Hamat sent to this village to fix the village that was essentially destroyed in the chaos of the last time they were here.
Yeah.
So the relief he sends, you guys end up terrifying beyond belief. And then in the next session, you found out so many. You all came up with so many conspiracy theories for what was going on because you thought they had turned into cannibals. You didn't realize
I didn't. No. Okay. I had fucked up so bad last time. I was like, I'm just going to take my happy fisherman ass to the river.
And you realized you had no fishing pole.
And I realized, I was just going to the river to be out of the way. I was like, I'm just going to stand over here. They don't want me anywhere near them right now. They don't want to talk to me. I've been the problem. So I went to the river and then I'm just being ADHD. And I was like, what if I stab the water? And you were like, make a roll. And
natural 20.
Of course, I
And I'm
rolled
like,
well.
You just cut a fish's head off and its body floats to the surface.
So I started throwing fish at the church.
Started throwing headless fish at your
Well, because
allies
I
to
was
be like,
like-
hey, they look starved. We should feed them.
And the
This is what I'm
barbarian
dealing
just started
with.
catching it in her mouth
Yeah,
and cooking.
yeah.
So that was a plus. It all works out. And so I just kept doing that for the next campaign. I was just throwing fish at
Yeah, that
people.
next session
He's so
was-
funny. It's like you were trying to focus on the other two people who were actually trying to, and not every once in a while I just,
Because they're actually...
what is a 22 roll for fishing? What is a 17 roll? And he's just, get fucked.
Okay, you caught all the fish. This river is overfished. There are no more fish in this river.
As Amon's trying to tell me to dive deeper. I think he was just trying to drown me.
Yeah, probably.
He was over
Probably.
it. He was like, just drown her. And then when I came back, there's a big ass foot. So I tried to inspect it, but everyone was like, oh, you stay here. So then I stayed put by the door and everyone left without me.
Poor Chi-Chi.
I didn't see like anything. No, they thought that the people inside, so they broke in through the roof, scared the absolute piss out of all the villagers for the 17th time. And then they
realized,
thought they were cannibals. And
then ended up finding out the whole horrid truth of what actually attacked the village.
yeah, the skin things are
Yeah,
weird.
the skin kites. Oh, the best, worst enemy I've ever used in any campaign. I've used them a lot.
And that was 2 sessions. So that was 2 sessions
One,
that we
Well,
no,
the
I'm
first
talking
yeah.
from the time
Yeah.
that we freaked out the villagers the first time to then the second time when I'm throwing fish at them. Like
eat.
that's 2 4-hour sessions or something like that. Like we're usually over there for 2 to 4 hours whenever we do those.
Yeah.
You don't feel like we've gotten very far.
Such as roleplay.
But this is also the same campaign where you made me a princess. So yeah, going back to when I first started playing D&D with him, he tells me nothing, and I know nothing
Well, because
about.
you, technically speaking, this character specifically, you don't know anything about Hamont's clan.
No.
Everything that you're experiencing with him is like you're being educated on this
But you
whole
forgot
other...
that I also don't know anything base level. I have
Oh, yeah.
no base level information that my character does have. So at one point in one of the first sessions when there was stuff happening, we were doing the autopsy and I ended up having to do it. You were like, aren't you going to call one of your guards? And I was like, I have guards?
And
you're like, yeah, you're a princess. I'm like, how the fuck would I know that? I'm like, I literally know nothing about
Well, you knew
this
that you
world.
were a princess.
As a
Didn't
princess, that
think-
doesn't automatically mean I get guards. I'm like, what level princess? I don't know. Explain the world to me. That, and again, that was at the time before like I'd read anything in the stories, hadn't read any kind of, I didn't know there was player handbooks or anything like that. Like I know a lot more now that I would know that. But in the beginning, I was like, I don't know what's happening. Don't know what to
I
do.
just threw you into the wild, and I'm like, all right, roll for initiative. And you're like, what is that?
I know. I was like, what does that mean?
It means it's time to fight or die.
Now I've played enough Baldur's Gate and we've played enough campaigns that
Yeah.
I understand a lot.
You've come so far.
But it's funny how like you can have such a different experience each and every time you play.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what people are going to get stuck on at all.
And that's the best part is, I think that's something that I would consider a character strength of mine, is I think I've been subjected to so many different groups where I realize that I can't plan things out ahead of time. I have
Yeah.
to be just on the ball. I got to make it up as I go, because anything that I come up with, they're going to go chase a squirrel.
Well,
And I think that kind of translated into my writing as well, which
yeah.
is why I was able to do those early seasons, just 4, 5, 6 paragraphs in 30 minutes after opening the bar.
I've seen you write before too, so I'm not shocked you were able to pump that out because you
Mm.
write quick. very quickly.
Once I
And
get,
not in a rushed way. I mean that in a very complimentary way where it's almost like you're
what
just brain dumping.
yeah, it's like once the thought hits my head, it's got to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will haunt me for days.
It's that ADHD hyperfixation.
Yeah. That's basically how I got into writing the story, running campaigns.
For 20 plus years now?
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, that'd probably be about 27 years.
Of running campaigns?
28 this year.
Wow. That's cool, though. That's a lot of different...
You get to look at a lot of different people in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Because I've come to realize that a person's true self comes out at the role-playing table.
Yeah.
Like you think that they're acting, but in a lot of ways, you can see the subtleties and you're like, oh.
So thank you for joining us today. And we'd love to hear what you'd like to hear us talk about. If you want to hear us talk more about maybe some campaigns, more about Dungeons and Dragons,
More
storyline insight, we will be doing the recap. So just a kind of brief overview over the Hall in general. We do have a website. It's called Hall of the Heroes. It's linked in our bio. On our website is everything that we post. So we post the storyline that you can actually physically read is on the website itself. You can read the audiobooks on YouTube for now. We're hoping to get them to other platforms eventually, but for now they're just on YouTube. This podcast is available both on YouTube and on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. There's a few others in there if you check our link tree as
I think
well.
iHeartRadio we're on too.
Yeah, iHeartRadio as well, if you have that one. And yeah, so just like, follow, subscribe, let us know what you want to hear. Click the bell. Please help support the Hall because we'd love to have you.
Yeah. And we will be constantly putting up information on any upcoming events that we will be doing on our social medias. So check our Instagram, check our Facebook. We will be probably bombarding your news feed with sheer chaos.
And we do have an actual events calendar page on our website too that you can look at all the info there for as well. If you want to come hang out in person at one of our events, please do. We love supporting small business. If anybody ever wants to sponsor an event or maybe even a podcast episode, we'd love to have that too.
Absolutely. But
we also just love talking to all y'all.
Absolutely.
We've gotten a lot of really good feedback. I feel like we keep saying that every episode, but each and every episode that we put out, we keep hearing more and more good things from people. And we're really excited that everybody else is so excited about this because that just really helps motivate us to keep going.
Yep. And as every good adventure starts, you meet in a tavern.
Da-da.
Thank you. And we'll see you next time.
Until next time.
For the Hall.
For the Hall.
Be your inner child. Be the biggest geek you want. We love you for it. Please join us. Come and be geeky with us.
Come be weird with us. It's fine here.